All right, round 3. What's up? Johnny Collinson here. Just finished making a couple pairs of parallettes. People are psyched on the wood and copper parallettes I use a lot. But in getting the parts and making the video, I realized it's like semi-complicated and figured a way to make some super bomber ones out of cheaper materials that are like way easier to make. So the wood, and just as an FYI, I'll just do the pricing for all the parts. Like the wood and copper set, for parts alone it was $79.95 US. And then for the black steel ones that are really simple to make, it was $66. And if you were to go on the internet and just buy a pair of parallettes, they're range anywhere from 20 bucks to 100 bucks, so it's kind of do whatever you want there. Sometimes it's just fun to make your own and yeah, just add a little bit more into your home gym space. So there we go, get into it. Next, I'm going to cut down the dowel for the handle and some of the copper pipe for the verticals. And I just did 2-foot sections for the base, so just going to match the 2-foot section for the dowel. Alright, now we're measuring where to drill the holes to set the couplings. So I'm going to measure out, kind of want this then centered, give it a nice reveal on both sides. So we're going to do one hole at 3 inches and one hole at 21. Then you're going to make sure it's in the center. So at 2 5/8 there, 2 5/8 here. So let's drill those bad Larrys up. This is the tricky part, trying to get it nice and vertical. I'm gonna do it on the ground. Put some wood down so you don't dingo your bit too bad. So the trick with these holes is you don't want to go all the way through, but you want to get it deep enough so that the coupling will sit in there nice. Just doing 5-inch sections for the risers. To cut these, I'm going to use the angle grinder. If you have like a metal cutoff saw, that's even better. And I find it easiest if you like measure your 5 inches and then wrap something flexible like paper or tape in the circle and then cut that. It kind of gives you a nicer flat line if you don't have a cutoff saw. My 5 inches in a few spots. Then gonna take the tape and give myself a nice clean line, so hopefully it comes out flat and not all angled. but we'll see how it actually turns out. Okay, go. Got your eyes, your ears. Boom, all four. I realized you could just take your vertical and epoxy that directly into the hole you just drilled, call it a day, and skip out on buying the couplings. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some extra pipe, cut mini chunks, set them in, then set my coupling on those. I think it's really nice to have the coupling on the base because it then allows you to change the height of your verticals. So if you wanted like higher parallettes or lower ones, you could change that distance, which I think is cool, but you could totally skip that. So yeah, we'll just chug away at this. Just kind of dry fit everything together. So we got the coupling sitting on the piece in the wood, vertical in the coupling. The T's slid on top with our dowels slid in. So everything's looking pretty good. Just gonna take it apart and then put some epoxy in there to make it official. Time to get started. Got the new epoxy. Why not do this when it's like 100 degrees out? So, back to where we started. Gonna set these little mini pipes into the holes we drilled with epoxy and then set the coupling on that. Might need a mallet to bonk it in. Make sure it's looking straight. We good. It's hot. You'll notice how these are pretty loose, the dowels in there, which you can get a bigger dowel that is harder to fit, but I like this size for the grip. So we're gonna drill holes in all these T's, and yeah, screw that dowel into the T. So using pretty fat screw, number 12 by 1 inch. So the bit's just as thick as the screw. And then I'm gonna take another bit and countersink the top. So, you can see, drilled that hole so this screw falls right in. And then we countersunk it with that bigger bit so that that head kind of sits a little bit flush, like that. It's looking good. Let's rip out those other 4. Or 3, I mean, gosh, math is hard. Last thing is to mount the dowels, the handles, into these verticals. So go ahead and set your T's into the coupling chuck your dowel in there to kind of get it centered in there, and then you just gotta eyeball it to try and get the T's and the handles as straight as possible. Take your drill with the small bit and just pre-drill a hole for your screws so you don't end up splitting your dowel, because that would just kind of suck at this point. There you have it, one parallette. Then what I'm gonna do, since there's this extra space in the dowel, I just kind of try and fill that with epoxy. So yeah, just figure out a way if you want to fill that hole to that gap, and there you go, set number 1. Okay, so now we're on to the second set of parallettes. These ones should be about 1,000,000 times easier. All you need is black steel that's threaded. Get that at like your local hardware store. I chose 18" for the handle and 6 inches for the riser, but they have all sorts of options. So you could go longer, shorter, whatever you want. And this is just a reducer. Figured I could go smaller on the vertical than the handle. So reducing 90, scrub off all the grease with rubbing alcohol, and get them cleaned up. Okay, now those are cleaned up a little bit. I'm just gonna go spray paint everything black so that it looks cooler. Okay, we got all those pieces painted up. Now all you have to do is screw all the pieces together. The floor flange on one side of the 6" pipe, the other into the 3/4 side of this 90. Like so. Ends up just being a nice handle. Screwing the floor flange into the 2x6. It's got 4 little holes. I'm just using 3/4 inch screws. And you might want to pre-drill these just so the wood doesn't split or anything. You can measure the sides to make sure it's all perfect and centered if you're a perfectionist. Yeah. Okay, so those are all done. Just gonna wrap some tape around it for finishing touch. Make it a little grippier. Parallette number 2. Here's the comparison. This one took like 20 minutes, not including the paint time. Took less than that actually. The paint drying is the only thing you have to do. Pretty much just need a drill. Versus this one, a lot more tools, a little more complicated. But copper and wood versus the black steel and wood and tape. This one feels like more solid for some reason. Yeah, there you have it, 2 DIY parallettes. Hope you enjoy. I don't really need these, so I'm gonna send them off to 2 of you, and yeah, enjoy.